Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful edition of Mother on Movies, the podcast where mom watches the movie against her will, rolls her eyes, but enjoyed it at the same time. But not today. Today is the day where she picked the movie that she wanted to watch, and now it's time for her to share her thoughts on the movie.
Well, actually,
actually,
I do know that this is one of your favorites.
This is one of my top 5. Yes, this is one of my top 5 movies.
So
yes.
I knew it could be a great conversation.
It will be.
I had to rewatch it in detail because I don't have one of these minds that captures
the
every
minds for
scene.
Movies. Yes.
And I wanted to make sure that we got through it.
Yes. Okay. So would you like to share with our wonderful listeners on what movie you've decided to choose?
Well, this movie is from 1994.
Okay.
And it stars Brad Pitt.
Ooh.
The sexiest man alive.
And probably
at
95.
That time. Yeah.
After this movie, you dang Skippy.
Oh, yeah. And Anthony Hopkins. He's one of your favorite actors.
Yes, definitely one of my faves.
Aidan Quinn.
Good
who
man.
is,
Good
very
man.
handsome.
Very handsome man.
Julia Ormond. And she's beautiful. She didn't do a whole lot, but she is beautiful.
This movie made her a big fat chick.
Okay. And Henry Thomas. And this guy is Gordon Tootsis. And he's a Native American.
Yes.
Anyway, so, Carl, this is Legends of the Fall.
Yes, it is. A movie I was forced to watch when I was younger and ended up loving it.
Well, I mean, you weren't that young.
All I know is this. I was forced to watch it, and I was young.
Oh, yeah, I think you were in high school, early high school.
Yes.
1994. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, well, it was a good one.
It was. No, it was good.
Now, this movie did win an Oscar for Best Cinematography because it was
beautiful. Very picturesque.
It's done in Montana.
Yes.
And
it's gorgeous, Montana.
Yeah, exactly. It was nominated for an Oscar for Best Art Director and Best Sound. Now, it was only nominated for the Golden Globes, but this was they were nominated for Best Picture, Best Performance by an actor in a movie picture drama, who was Brad Pitt. He was nominated. And Best Original Score of a Motion Picture, James Horner.
Yeah, it was good soundtrack.
Yeah,
yes.
Of course. Now, James Horner is one of these up with the John Williams, okay?
Oh, yeah, no, he is
beautiful.
He is a master of his craft.
Okay, so we've got the players. We've got some of the awards. Now, the director of this one is Edward Zwick. Zwick, and he is known for, now these are the only ones that I knew that I've heard of, so he's done a lot more than these.
Right.
He did Glory.
Oh, it's a good one.
Courage Under Fire.
Never seen it.
Well, that was with my girl, Meg Ryan.
Meg Ryan, yes.
And she was not her normal self. The Last Samurai.
Oh, that's a good one.
Blood Diamond.
That was interesting, but good.
Love and Other Drugs.
Never seen it.
And Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. These are some of the ones I just picked out of the list that seemed that I had heard of. Okay,
man, Glory was really good.
Yeah,
Glory is a good.
So he's a good director.
Yeah, sorry,
very good director.
Not talking about Matthew Broderick. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so Carl, it starts out with basically the narration is the Native American, and his name is One Stab.
That's right, One Stab.
Mm-hmm. And he never speaks English except for he speaks English in the narrative, but not in the actual movie. But he's telling the story of the family, of the Ludlow family.
The Ludlow family, yes.
And so it's very poetic. It makes me get a little bit of a goosebumps on me because the way it starts out with, with it. And it's basically, he would always hear the inner voices. He became crazy. Now we're talking, about the main character. The main character of the story is who?
Tristan.
Yes, Tristan Ludlow.
Tristan Ludlow, the middle boy.
Yes, he is the one Brad Pitt.
Yes, yeah,
okay?
he is the true definition of a middle child.
So Tristan Ludlow's mother almost died in the birth.
Yes.
Okay, of him. And the colonel, now the colonel is Anthony Hopkins.
Yes, we just call him the colonel.
And he was a colonel in the Union Army, and his job was to fight the Indians.
Yes.
Okay, and I believe he also, we're going to say Indians because that's the context of that
of the movie.
era.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he did the Indian Wars, and he also, I believe, fought in the Civil War.
Yes.
Okay. And he brought Tristan to One Stab wrapped in a bearskin. And so One Stab took him under his wing, kind of like a grandfather.
Yeah, he does play a father-grandfatherly figure, yes. Just with Tristan, though.
Correct. Yes, he did that. And
because I think that if my memory is correct on this, which with these movies usually it's pretty good, is that One Stab noticed his fight because his mom almost died. He recognized that this was going to be a wild child, so he needed more guidance than what Mr. Ludlow could give.
Okay, and then One Stab had sons, but they were gone forever.
Yes.
And the colonel, he said the colonel tried to help the people, meaning the Indians.
The Indians, yeah.
But couldn't. So he went over the mountains to Montana to get away from the government.
Yes.
Okay.
He's very anti-government.
Yes. So Alfred is the oldest son of the colonel.
Yes.
And his wife.
And Alfred is played by
Aidan Quinn.
Samuel
was the youngest of the brothers, and the other two watched over him like a treasure.
Yes. Yeah, he was the apple of Colonel Ludlow's eye as well as Mom.
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. Mom loved Alfred more.
Could be. But anyway, Isabel Ludlow was the mother's name.
Yes.
Yes. Isabel, now we'll have to get that straight because there's more than one Isabel. So Isabel Ludlow went away one winter, and she did not return.
Never come back. Yeah, she did not like the cold.
Correct. They were cruel, and she was scared of the bears.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Alfred wrote letters to his mother, and Tristan didn't like speaking of her.
Yeah, because he felt abandoned.
Yes, of course. And his world was in Montana with One Stab.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Tristan looked for his death already.
Yes.
What is this?
Yes, this is his. He was always looking for the perfect death, or I think it was called I think he called it the perfect death, or
a good death.
A good death. That's right. It was a good death. Well, he always was trying to prove himself not only to himself but also to One Stab.
Okay, so when he was a young man, probably a young teen, perhaps
preteen, 12.
He went out to touch a bear. I don't know. He went out into the forest and he was touching a bear. That's all it showed on the movie.
Right.
And he got paw swiped by the bear.
Yes, he did.
But he ended up cutting off a claw, or a little part of the claw, like a claw finger.
Yeah.
Of the bear with a knife, and the bear limped away, and One Stab was proud of him.
Yes.
Okay, so they each kind of shared the bear and Tristan shared their blood together.
Yes.
And they were bound. Like in Indian lore, they were bound together.
Yes. Then that's where, Go on, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'm just kind of checking in with you.
No, I'm good.
One Stab had many letters from all of them, the Ludlows. He has the whole story. So he's trying to say,
he's basically the patriarch of the Ludlow family.
Well, yeah, he's the historian. He was there. He witnessed everything that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and now let's also rewind a little bit, is that part of the narration is because there's a newspaper man sitting in a teepee with him. Remember that?
No.
Yeah, that's because he's telling the story.
Okay.
He's around the campfire inside the teepee.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was writing stuff down. I didn't notice that.
Yes, yeah. He basically is now telling this family of the Ludlows, and it looks like he outlived all of them.
Okay. So,
he's very, very, very old.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yes.
So, because he was a little bit old when we were seeing this.
It looks like he was probably in his mid-40s, probably.
Okay. But, of course, the weathered face.
Weathered face and stuff, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
So Colonel writes to Isabel, his wife, that he feels he failed their sons, and she writes Samuel is engaged to Susanna Fincannon and is bringing her to Montana to meet the brother and the colonel. So Susanna gets off the train, and this is like in the probably early summer.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, in the early 1900s.
Well, I know that part, but
Oh, okay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
at the time of year, it was in I think it was like 1913 or 1914,
Somewhere in
somewhere
there.
in
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more close to 13, but anyway, she gets off the train, meets Alfred and the Colonel, and Tristan is off being Tristan.
Tristan's being Tristan. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, meaning he's wild. He has his own things
agendas.
to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Isabel also wrote that Susanna lost both of her parents and is fragile and feels alone, but now has a new family.
Yes. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want
Okay.
to jump ahead.
They chit-chat along the road as they're coming, back from the train. And the train just basically stops, and then they get off. There's no station,
yeah,
really.
So it's basically just a stop in the middle of nowhere that they have to make. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then Tristan shows up along the way on a horse. This is the theme. And he's always on a horse.
It's a wild horseman.
And Tristan shows up, and he hugs Samuel. He meets Susanna, welcomes her, and Alfred insinuates Tristan and Samuel. Oh, I'm sorry. Alfred insults Tristan, and Samuel and Tristan drag Alfred off his horse and wrestle playfully with him.
Yes.
Like brothers.
Yes, they were roughhousing.
Yeah, they all loved each other. Did you have anything else to say at that point?
Nope. Except for, yes, there's one thing I want to add. The look that Alfred gave Susanna Fincannon.
Mm-hmm. When she immediately got off the train,
because she's wearing this very white dress, very bright, and of course she has a gorgeous smile. That's to be commended. It's a big, huge smile, perfect teeth, and pretty sure no offense to anyone in Montana, but I think during the 1913s there probably wasn't great dental work then, so. But either or, she's beautiful. No,
she has a curly brunette,
and she looks like an angel.
Yes, she does.
She definitely looks like an angel. Nothing.
Okay, so at the house, Susanna is shown to Mother's room, and Samuel's tender with her and calls her an Angelica after the flowers in the vase. Okay. Now, Susanna meets Isabel too. So there's two Isabels. Now, Isabel 2 is a young girl. She's 13 years old. And Isabel 2, her parents live on the ranch.
They're the ranch hands.
Mm-hmm. Her mother is Indian.
Yes.
Her name is Pet.
Yes.
And her father is Tom Decker.
Yes, Mr.
He's
Decker.
a white guy.
Yes.
Anyway, they live there with the family.
Yes.
So Isabel 2 says she's going to marry Tristan someday.
Well, because yes, it was an important scene to where she says, "Oh, here you're going to marry Samuel." She's like, "Oh, yes, and who are you going to marry?" She's like, "I'm going to marry Tristan."
Yeah. And so then Susanna says, "Well, then they'll be sisters."
Yes.
Okay. And Alfred speaks to Susanna, and the Colonel shouts at him to stop mooning over Miss Fincannon. Okay.
Stop moving over Miss Fincannon.
Yeah. Okay. And wants Albert to come into the house to talk to Samuel about cows. So the general feeling is that the Colonel and Alfred are not really close as father and son, because the Colonel seems to berate him a lot, put him down.
I can tell you why.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It is known in the letters. In regards to, well, I think I might be jumping ahead.
Yeah,
a
you
smidge.
Might jump ahead. So
never
let's
mind.
not do that.
I will be quiet.
Okay, sorry.
But it's a foretelling thing that he already knows.
Yes.
And basically, when the letters come, it confirms he's already known what already before. Go ahead.
So dinner that night, Tristan and Alfred are hitting each other playfully at the table, and Samuel is concerned about the growing war in Europe.
Which is?
And World War I.
Yes.
Okay. And they are safe in Montana. Like it was a bad thing. And the Colonel, what does he say?
It was white guilt. Or it was well, whatever guilt. Yeah, no, it was he basically pretty much the Colonel's opinion about war is not that great.
Okay, so
because he's seen it. And he sees what is done to boys and
right.
things of that nature, and he's very against it. And he tries to tell Samuel that, hey, I know what war is. Well, it's different now. No.
So he says the Colonel doesn't like to talk about war at the table.
Nope.
Okay. And so Samuel feels it's a clear duty to be concerned. Now, They're in United States. This
We're
is
not
the
involved
war,
yet, yeah.
right? We're not involved yet. We didn't get involved until pretty late.
Yeah.
And so, but he, so Samuel feels it's a clear duty. Susanna comes in late for dinner, and they fawn over her. Because,
Of course.
You know,
Oh, no. Yeah, she's literally like, yeah, she's an angel. Go ahead.
after dinner, Samuel is singing a ballad, and Alfred looks infatuated with her, with Susanna.
Yes.
Colonel enjoys having a cultivated woman under his roof again, and it's intoxicating.
It is.
Okay. So out there's an outdoor scene by their they show the ranch activities basically. They're capturing horses, they're shooting guns, they're breaking in the horses, they're playing lawn tennis, and these are all involving Tristan.
Yes.
Okay. But they're all together kind of doing these activities it shows in the film.
Yeah. It shows it's a cattle ranch. That's what they're
right.
They're
Exactly.
just showing the duties.
Yeah, but they're
and
just
stuff.
kind of giving a background.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then Samuel talks about sex with Susanna before marriage with Tristan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And Susanna doesn't want to wait before marriage. And Tristan gives Samuel advice. So I won't go into that advice. Okay. So then later on, 3 men in suits come up to the ranch, and they're James and John O'Banion.
Right, the O'Banion brothers.
Uh-huh. And there's also the sheriff comes with them.
Yes.
And now the O'Banions are the mercantile people, which is like the general store in the town.
Yes.
Okay. Now, they're looking for someone that's a fugitive, supposedly, named Tom Cullen.
Yes.
Okay, can you say anything more about that?
Basically what they do is that you see Isabel 2's father, Tom.
His name's Tom Decker to them.
Tom Decker to them. But since the colonel is not a fan of the government, he takes him. Basically, this is where you find out that he took Mr. Decker in to help him out because who knows why he's wanted. He doesn't care. It's a ranch hand. You can figure out the backstory, but he has Tom hide.
Yes.
He has Tom hide. He finds that they show him an actual drawing of Tom Decker, and of course he tells him, "I don't know. Nope. I think he was here a few months ago."
No, actually, they said he was here. He said, yes, we did see him 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, like, oh, we got him.
And he left for San Francisco to book passage to Australia or Hong Kong.
Yeah, exactly.
And the sheriff, so when the colonel asked, well, what did he do? The sheriff refuses to say what it was, and the O'Banions say it's of a personal matter.
Yeah, it's basically a revenge thing.
And so what the colonel reminds the sheriff is it's a personal matter, but you hold a public office.
Yes. Yeah, he's very known in his politics, yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, the sheriff is being like a private security force.
Yeah, for the O'Banions.
But he's actually being a paid public servant.
That's correct.
So one evening, they do, after dinner, they go into the living room and they do things to entertain themselves. So the colonel was reading Rikki Tikki Tavi. And after dinner, then Samuel gets upset about the newspaper.
Yeah.
Because it says the Germans broke through a barrier and the British are trapped. And this is in Holland, okay?
Right. Just for the record,
yes.
I just want this to be known. I hate Samuel.
Wait, we haven't even started on him yet, right?
No, I mean, I'm talking at this moment. I didn't like him previous.
Oh, you still didn't like him?
I didn't like him at all because for me, Samuel was basically showing his brothers off, like, haha, look what I got.
Oh, so Susanna was like a prize.
Yes, Susanna, and that's part of the theme of this movie with her, is that I feel that Samuel wanted to show off his brothers, look what I got, ha ha ha, because remember he went off to Boston.
Yes, to go to college.
And I think all the boys, well, not Tristan, but I believe
Alfred also.
Alfred went. Also, yes.
I don't know where he went, but he was a college person.
Yeah, he was a college person as well. Tristan definitely was not.
No.
No, it was his prize to show his brothers off, and that's why at the moment, I mean, I get where he's coming from, but at the same token, after the first conversation with the colonel about war, and sometimes you got to listen to your dad in a certain sense, especially when he's called the Colonel and he has his, his views on it, yet you still are disrespectful in his home. And you can see the frustration that the Colonel has with his son because he's not listening. And he's trying to convince the Colonel that it's different this time. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the Colonel says Samuel wants to go and help. And the Colonel says it's foolish. He's against war because of his experience in the Indian Wars.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The boys, Alfred, Samuel, they want to go. The Colonel's against it.
Yes.
But this is in 1914, and Alfred and Samuel announced they are going to Canada to enlist.
Yeah, they're going to be part of the Canadian
Army.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, Susanna is upset over their decision, of course, right?
Yeah.
She's unable to change Samuel's mind. So Tristan and Susanna have a talk. She starts to cry and hugs Tristan. This is in an upstairs, I believe.
Upstairs bedroom.
And he realizes the reason they were talking is because she was upset that Samuel was going to go.
Yes.
And he was just happened to be there, and they talked about it.
Yeah.
And, of course, she cries. He kind of holds her a little bit.
Right.
And he kind of feels like, oh, yeah, this is nice. And he realizes his attraction to her, kisses her.
Right.
Not a big smacky kiss.
No, just a quick one.
Kind of, kiss on the face like affection.
Yeah.
And Alfred walks in on them.
Yep.
So, of course, he sees
He's jealous.
Red.
He's jealous.
Yeah, because he already fell in love with her.
Yeah. He's mad that Tristan gets it.
Now, we don't know how many weeks and days this has been since she even arrived.
That's correct. There's no timeline.
Well,
that's
actually,
specific.
Kind of, because we're thinking that she was there with them all summer, because the next date is October 14th, 1914.
Right. So, yeah, so she's probably there maybe 6 months-ish. So maybe somewhere in there. Oh, no, it was before the winter. So
yeah. So the Colonel writes to his wife,
yes,
the boys are leaving home to defend an England they've never seen, and he was unable to stop them.
Yeah.
He tried to shelter them from the madness, but now they go to seek it.
Yep.
So this scene is the boys are coming to say goodbye with their horses packed. Okay. Yeah. And Tristan hugs Isabel too.
Yes.
Alfred shakes Susanna's hand. Samuel hugs Susanna as she's looking at Tristan. Right? And the Colonel comes out of the house.
Pissed.
Shakes Alfred's hand and hugs him. Shakes Samuel's hand and hugs him.
And
he says, I'll bring you back the Kaiser's helmet.
So just bring yourself back.
Exactly. And then the Colonel tells Tristan, he has a hard hug. He tells him, take care of Samuel. And Tristan says he will.
Yeah. Because the only reason why Tristan's going is to protect his brothers.
He's basically the bodyguard.
Yeah, he doesn't give a
about this whole thing.
Rear end about what's going to happen. Yeah.
So one stab went with them to
the border.
Actually to drop them off in Canada, and to bring the horses back, because the Colonel called them damn fools. But even though they were damn fools, they weren't going to go to war on old nags.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So the Colonel and Susanna, they join. Oh, so Susanna stays on.
Yeah, well, she has nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
Or she can go back to Boston.
Well, she was, one stab was saying in the narration that she was supposed to leave the next day on the train.
That's right.
But there was a 3-day snowstorm. And then...
she just never left.
Yeah, then the Colonel said, well, don't go now. And she never left.
Yeah.
So while they were there, they were eating, and the Colonel and Susanna, and then Pet and Tom Decker and Isabel too were in the kitchen
having
eating.
Fun. Yeah,
and they were having fun, so they decided to join them.
Yes,
and I think that's what they did from then on.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's
like a family.
Yeah, that's all they got. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So then it kind of switches to the war.
Yeah, they're in Europe.
Mm-hmm. And Samuel's in a trench in France, I'm assuming, because that's where all the trenches were. It's night, and the rockets are flying. Tristan arrives from a different unit.
he just leaves his unit. He just
doesn't
care. He doesn't care. Yeah.
And Alfred's nearby. And there's a soccer ball kicked, and they charge. The date then was February 3rd, 1915, they said. And Samuel writes of the war's horror. Okay.
Shocking.
And he wants, it's way different than he thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. He had ideas, delusions of grandeur, of glory, and all this kind of stuff that he's imagining, but in real life, it's dirty, gross, it's exhausting, it's ugly, it's vile.
And he does say he does want that personal glory. He wants to distinguish himself in battle.
Yeah, he wants to prove himself for some weird reason.
So Tristan and Alfred watch over him, and Samuel realizes he was naive. So one of the scenes, Tristan does save Samuel from a battle. Okay, he does save him. Okay,
because his entire infantry that kicked the soccer ball pretty much got mowed down.
Yeah,
and a part of Samuel's unit.
Yeah, and so then, so Samuel is riding Susanna. Alfred and Tristan are drifting apart, and he doesn't know why. Okay, because he doesn't realize about that kiss before they left.
Yes, he does not. He is not aware of it at all.
No. He thinks of her each night, regrets not marrying or being with her before he left, and he asks her to wait for him at the ranch. And he says Tristan came to France to protect him. He did that more to protect him than fight the Germans. So he just realized that.
He just realized, oh, yeah, he's here to cover my butt. Yeah.
Yeah. So Alfred's wounded.
Yes, he gets wounded in battle.
Yeah, this is another scene. And they're sending him home, but he doesn't want to go, but, whatever.
There's nothing you could do, yeah.
And while Tristan is talking with Alfred, they found out that Samuel took point on a recon mission.
Yep.
And that's because whoever was supposed to do it was not able to do it, so he volunteered.
And
Tristan was not even around there.
No, he was not.
So Tristan rushes out to find Samuel in the battle, but he's on a horse.
Yeah.
So he's calling for him. He's on the horse, and he's going through the battle, all through the rockets
melee.
and all of
melee.
it. And so Samuel ends up in a trench. He's pinned down by gunfire.
Yes.
And a fellow soldier is shot in that trench with him. So he decides to get out of the trench. He runs to the front of the battle. This is how I'm seeing it. Now, if you see something different, you might say it.
No, you're fine.
Tristan has a shell explode near his horse, and he falls off.
Yeah, and that produces mustard gas.
Okay, a German soldier on a horseback is rushing at him, shooting a rifle. Tristan shoots him, kills him. Another one kills him. Third guy ran out of ammo, knocks him off his horse, and stabs him. Right. So it's establishing Tristan as a warrior.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is all from his Native American training and all that. And he just
basically whatever one stab taught him to be an Indian warrior.
Okay. So meanwhile, Samuel's running to the front of the battle.
Yeah.
And Tristan is running after him, calling his name.
Yeah.
But he can't hear him yet.
No.
So Samuel trips, falls as poison gas starts to spread around.
Yeah, that's when they started shooting, because the soldiers that Tristan killed were all wearing gas masks.
Ah, there you go, because they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
The mustard gas.
So Tristan is searching the battlefield of dead bodies for Samuel.
Yeah, he is.
He's calling his name, looking at everybody, frantic.
Yeah.
All right. Samuel's disoriented,
yeah,
coughing, can hardly see.
Yeah, he can't see because of the mustard gas.
And he finally hears Tristan calling his name.
Yeah.
He gets caught in the barbed wire fencing.
Yeah, this is a scene that's a gut-wrencher.
Yeah, this is why I was telling Carl that I like this movie, I love this movie, but there's certain parts of this movie that I cannot handle.
No, that's a rough scene even for me now. And I do not like Samuel. I mean, when he
because you're feeling what Tristan's pain is. Okay, well, let's go through it, and then we'll...
Go ahead.
Okay, so he finally hears Tristan calling his name, and he gets... Okay, we did that. He gets caught in the barbed wire.
Yep. And then these soldiers, the hubris of it all. This is like the part that upsets me, too. They took their time to set up the tripod. It's like, I see pistols, guys. I mean, it's just one of those things where they're literally saying, oh, this is like fish in a barrel.
Correct.
Yep, and they take their time.
Yeah, they setting
set
up like
a tripod, and they're setting up a minigun.
Yeah.
They're setting up an old minigun. And sure enough, they do what they do.
So Samuel is caught. He can't get to the ground.
No.
Okay, because he's all tangled
He's literally in a web
of barbed wire. Because it wasn't just one.
No. It was coils and coils and barbed wire.
So the Germans shoot him to pieces.
Yes.
Tristan sees this.
Yeah, he witnessed it. Okay. He witnessed him like the whole thing.
The whole thing was
he saw
the worst.
Yeah, once they literally unloaded an entire cartridge of that minigun. So you're talking at least 100+ bullets. Tristan ends up, sees it, goes into rage, and of course he murders rightfully so, kills the soldiers and scalps them.
Okay, so the Germans. He kills the Germans, and he goes back to Samuel, who dies in his arms.
That scene where he's spitting out blood and everything.
And he's
phenomenal
trying to
acting.
he's saying, "You're okay, you're okay." You know, it was just heart-wrenching.
No, it's phenomenal acting. We'll just put it there because it's really bad. Go ahead.
Now, in his grief, Tristan cuts Samuel's heart out. This is really bad, guys. This is his Native American traditions.
Yes, that's part of his tradition. Bring back the heart, because the heart is everything, has the soul.
In his grief, Tristan cuts Samuel's heart out and damns God for what's happened.
I was going to say, it's important that you bring that up.
I did.
Okay.
Tristan takes the heart, wraps it in a cloth, spreads blood on his face like a warrior. I don't know what that was all about.
No, what happened was, you kind of...
Yeah.
Yes, there's something that's very important, though. He comes back, and what he does is that this is where the post-traumatic stress kicks in for Tristan. And he has the heart, and he's, doing his Native American singing,
And he's in a tent.
And he's in a tent by himself, but he's also covered in blood. So all the soldiers around him are not.
They're leaving him alone.
They're leaving him alone, and then...
Because he has a knife in his hand, too.
He does, and he wants to kill somebody. Or he's just, he's in the dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother comes in. Remember, Alfred walks in.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Tristan, what are you doing?" Tristan, like he's trying to reel him in somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But then, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Then one stab wakes up in the middle of the night, sensing something terrible happened with Tristan. Okay.
Well, no, it was with the boys. He sensed something that was wrong with the boys in general. But Tristan is like the vehicle of it. Of course, remember, he takes the heart, Samuel's heart, and puts it in the box.
Yes.
And then when he does that, then he puts his war paint on, which is the blood of Samuel.
Oh, okay.
So he does that, and then of course he comes out of the tent, and he is not in his uniform. Okay, clearly not.
He's pretty much naked, wasn't he?
He's pretty much shirtless, and he's got the war paint on his, or the mud and the war paint on his chest, the blood, everything. He didn't change clothes. He gets on the horse, and ain't nobody messing with Tristan at this point. So what does he do? He goes in during the middle of the night, and he does a sneak attack.
Yes, he does.
He does a sneak attack, and
to the German line.
And well, we'll just cut this short a little bit. He basically comes back to camp the following morning, and he's covered in scalps.
Right, because he did go. And he killed a
bunch of soldiers.
And he did come back with scalps, yes.
All over his body. And, of course, at that point, you're thinking 1915, right? No one's seen this gore before. And it's just come back. That's human scalps. Holy smoke. So, anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But I was thinking with that knife at that point, too, there was a possibility that he was going to commit suicide.
Yes, possibly.
We didn't really know.
Yeah, that at that point, I think once he saw that, he was in I feel that, when he's in that dark place, revenge is first, and then second would be probably, because, anyway, go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's fine. So, the date is March 20th, 1915, and Tristan is writing his father. Says he's being discharged from the Army, but cannot come home yet.
Yes, that's correct.
He writes his grandfather Ludlow to ask to go to sea with him.
Yes.
He sent back Samuel's heart with Alfred.
Yes.
He should be buried in the Box Canyon where he used to draw the birds.
Yes, and that specific scene there plays a role. That area, it's its own character in this movie.
Yes.
This is where, unfortunately, well, we won't get into it too much, but
first
of all, it's very picturesque, it's very beautiful, very peaceful, but also very scary at the same time.
Okay. Now, after Samuel's burial, Susanna tells Alfred she loved Samuel and what he saw with her and Tristan was not what it seemed.
Right. She wanted to clarify everything.
And Alfred tells her Tristan will be back someday, and she responds, "Your father will be pleased." So she didn't want to intimate that she was interested.
She was looking forward to seeing Tristan come back. That's correct.
Okay. And Susanna was supposed to return to Boston the next morning. Oh, that was then. Oh, that was after. Okay, so she didn't. That's when the snowstorm came.
Right.
Okay, so we kind of got that messed up. Sorry.
That's okay.
But one stab said she should have left, but how could the colonel know what was going to happen?
Yeah, and that's your foretelling of, okay, by the way, if you're not traumatized enough, strap it on, put the seatbelt on and grab your tissues because it's only going to get worse. Go ahead.
So Alfred proclaims his love for Susanna as they were visiting Samuel's grave.
Yeah, and
this is time has passed.
Yeah, time has passed, and they're at the thing, and at
the same at that Box Canyon.
They're at the Box Canyon prayers, and Alfred feels that it's only right to do so in front of Samuel.
Yes, he says they could. He says they can make a life together, and she says no. He keeps trying, but she tells him it will only cause him pain. He says, "Let me be the judge of that, all right?" So she was up front in that respect.
No, you got to give her credit on that because she pretty much called her shot because it's basically like, dude, you're the last resort, right? Pretty much. Like,
well,
no, you don't want no part of this because I'm nuts now or whatever.
Well, pretty much, yeah. So Tristan returns riding on a horse. He finally does return.
He does return.
And everyone's glad to see him.
Yes.
He visits Samuel's grave, and Susanna goes there too. Tristan breaks down and says he couldn't save him, and they hold each other. Okay. Now, at dinner that night, Alfred shows his displeasure of the meeting. Tristan leaves the table, and Susanna follows him. Okay, so Alfred says, "Did you enjoy your ride?" And
he's jealous. That's right.
Okay.
You know what? I forgot about that scene. Yes.
So Tristan's upset. He leaves the table. Susanna follows him. Now, she's always following him. Do you notice? To the graveside, following outside. And then I just put down there, they make love. Okay, so they're out in the fields.
They're doing what adults do. Yes.
Yeah. So the next morning, Alfred asks when Tristan will marry Susanna.
Yeah, because it's about now Alfred feels that he is the virtuous one because he does everything correctly.
Okay, we'll get into that later. They discuss Samuel's death and Alfred's love for Susanna. Alfred says Tristan can't make her happy. And Tristan says he's going to try. And Alfred says he will fail.
Right.
So basically, they do have a fight.
Yes.
And do you remember how that fight went?
No, I don't.
Okay. So basically, he said you failed to protect.
Yeah, okay, yes, I do remember that, yeah. It was a low blow on Alfred's end. He was just trying to just win at this point, because at this point, he knows he's not going to have Susanna.
Yeah.
Or Suzanne. And it's a Susanna, right?
Susanna.
Mm-hmm. He's not going to have Susanna, and his dad doesn't respect him, because here's the thing with Alfred. He's not the one that's loved. Period. I mean, Samuel was loved by everybody. Tristan
was loved by everyone.
Was loved by everyone. Alfred was not, except for his mom.
Correct, and she wasn't there.
And she wasn't there, so he had nobody on his team. So no matter what, because Alfred, he's a lawyer. He has a law degree.
I think so.
He has a law degree, and he did get it in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah, he did get it in Boston. And now it's like, okay, everyone's okay with what Tristan's doing right now because the dad ain't saying nothing. So it's like...
Well, I don't know if they knew everything at that point.
It's a possibility.
It was only the one night. I mean,
I'm not going to let the Colonel think he's that dumb. Colonel's not that dumb. He knows, but at the end of the day, Tristan's going to do what Tristan's going to do no matter what anyone says.
Correct.
So there's no point in having the conversation. Go ahead.
So he did say... it was a low blow that he couldn't protect and save Samuel. But he says, if you say, I will forgive you this time because I know you love her, meaning Susanna.
Yes.
He says, but if you say that to me again.
We're no longer brothers.
That's correct.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So
because the way he did say it was pretty like, honestly, it was just that one thing he could just get a stab.
It was a low blow.
It was extremely low.
So Alfred announces he's leaving the ranch and wishes them the best.
Right.
Okay, at that point.
Yes.
So Alfred goes to Helena, the state capital, and this is in September 7th, 1915.
Right.
Okay. And he opens up a cattle and grain brokerage company.
Yes.
He feels alive and has influential friends. He's writing this to his
mom.
mother.
Yes.
Alfred's he is successful, but he has disappointments. He prays to be able to forgive Tristan.
Right.
Okay. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Tristan and Susanna are working the cattle. You know, they're doing the chores.
Yeah, you see a bunch of scenes with them working on
the calf. Okay, so now a calf gets stuck in barbed wire.
Yeah.
Okay. It triggers the scene with Samuel.
Yes.
And it seems to set off a mental crack in Tristan because he couldn't save the calf.
No, he couldn't. He had to shoot the calf.
Yeah, and Susanna saw that.
Yeah,
okay.
and she doesn't. And of course, they're not going to tell Susanna how he died.
No.
So that she's literally not naive to it. Yeah.
So One Stab and Tom.
I'm sorry. It's fun.
ahead.
I'm going to give you DAP on this because I don't think you'd get this one. It took me like the second or third time to sit there and go, oh, because when he starts aggressively trying to remove it, just like he did with Samuel, then it finally clicked and went, oh, because the next scene, they're in the tub together, and he's in that stare.
Yeah, he does. He starts cracking. Yeah.
Yes, he's got the 100-yard stare.
So One Stab and Tom, they see a grizzly bear in the canyon. This is another scene.
Yes.
Okay, and they go out to shoot it, and Tristan decides not to shoot it.
Stop. We need to pause right here for a second.
Go ahead.
That is the same bear that got him.
Yes.
Okay, you didn't bring that. You said there was a bear.
Sorry.
It's not the bear.
But it is the
because
bear,
it's the scene where, because One Stab goes, hey, it's him. He's out there. And, dude, Tristan gets up so quick. Like, get this mother. Bleep. You know, no, this is a really good scene. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So the Tristan, One Stab, and Tom and the Colonel go. Oh, okay. So after they did this bear encounter, which Tristan decided not to shoot the bear for whatever reason.
Yeah,
because he's mentally cracking. All right,
yeah.
he's got the PTSD
big time,
and it was it's right on the surface.
Yeah.
So they decide they're going into a saloon for beers.
Yes.
And this is after that encounter with the bear. The bartender doesn't want to serve One Stab because he's a Native American.
Right.
Tristan will have none of it. Now, the Colonel tries to calm him down, but Tristan takes the club and hits the bartender, sticks a gun to his head, and tells him about One Stab's honorable life and that he wants a drink.
Yes.
Now, there's a lot more to it.
The man wants a drink.
Yeah.
Give him one.
Oh, yeah. He basically, he's
going to have a beer, and you're going to pour it.
Yeah, and it was great. I mean, it was a great scene.
Oh, it was a fantastic scene.
Yeah.
And then the Colonel's pissed, but at the same time, he knows what Tristan's going through.
Yeah.
He knows it, so that's why he didn't make too big of a scene of it. He got mad at him, but it's like, okay, well, all right.
So Tristan now is melting down emotionally and mentally, and One Stab says it's the bear's voice within him.
Yeah, because he's riding his horse, pacing back and forth, trying to get the rage out, and it's not working.
Mm-hmm. So one morning, Susanna wakes up with Tristan in bed, but realizes he's dirty and bloody. Okay?
Yes.
He wakes up suddenly wielding a knife to her throat in a broken state of mind. Mm-hmm. He realizes his mistakes and decides he must leave the ranch.
Got to leave. Yep.
Because he's dangerous.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to say goodbye to Susanna, but she finds him and is trying to make him stay.
Right.
He says he'll only be gone a few months, and she said she will wait no matter how long.
Yep.
Okay. Now, in her defense, she's very young, and she's thinking it's her fault somehow.
Yeah.
And it's not her fault.
Has nothing to do with her.
And there's nothing that she can say or do that would help him at that point.
Nope.
But they don't, when you're young.
He's got to go.
Yeah.
He just has to. You have to let him go, yeah.
So he rides off, and Susanna asks the Colonel, will he come back? And the Colonel says, I don't know. And One Stab says, he will.
Yeah.
Okay. And as he rides away, Isabel, too, runs after him, but he doesn't see her.
Right.
Okay. So Tristan is out at sea. This is the next scene.
Yes.
He's traveling the world. He sent
his letter is the best. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. He sent a package from New Guinea.
Yes.
As Susanna writes him a letter. Now, she recaps what's going on at the ranch. And Alfred is successful businessman and with interests in Chicago. Isabel, too, doesn't want to go to boarding school. She's waiting for Tristan's return,
She's waiting for
all this stuff. And but Susanna has nowhere to send letters that she's writing, and she doesn't know if he'll even want them. She says she just writes the letters for herself.
Right.
So we see Tristan on drugs, trying to numb the memories.
Yes, he's in opium dens. He's murdering. He's basically a poacher.
Well, wait, I don't think we're there yet.
Oh.
Well, almost.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where after he takes his hit of opium, he's doing it. Then you hear the narration of the letter.
Exactly. So December 12th.
It's the best letter ever.
So December 12th, 1919.
Yes. So it's been how many years now?
4.
Four.
Oh yeah, huh?
It's been 4 years.
I don't know about that.
Because you said 1915, right?
That's right, because they came back from World War I in 1915.
Yeah, and then Alfred leaves in September of 15.
Okay, you're right. You're right.
So Tristan's been gone
4 years at least.
4 years at least. Or at least, yeah, it's got to be 4.
So he writes to Susanna that he has become a hunter.
Yep.
It appears he's in Africa because there's zebra slaughter.
There's zebras, there's rhinos,
and it's a heart taken out, and it triggers a mental break again in Tristan.
Yes.
And he has to be physically restrained by the people around him.
Yeah, and on his boat, yeah.
Yeah. He writes, all that they had is dead, as he is dead, marry another. This is what he wrote to Susanna.
Yeah, and I don't think were they even married?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-mm.
That's one thing I was like, are they married? I don't remember. Yeah, but yeah, no, they weren't married. They were just doing their thing on the ranch.
So Alfred comes to visit the ranch with men in suits, and he wants the colonel to bless his run for Congress.
Oh, yes.
Okay, this is this.
Yes.
Yeah, and the colonel challenges the men in the room. He says, "What do you want for yourselves? And what do you want from my son?" So he's skeptical, right? He cuts right to the chase, and Alfred doesn't see that.
No, he's
flattered.
He's flattered by it, where the dad's like, I know politics, I know government, I used to work for the government. Yeah.
So Colonel says this means he'll work for the government, which means Alfred, and he used to work for the government once, and the Indians were the issue then. Nothing more grotesque as a bullet meeting a child, he says, and villages slaughtered in their sleep. He says Alfred leaves, stating he will bring wisdom and humanity to the U.S. government.
Now, this reminds me of a character that was slaughtered in Germany because he can make a difference in the war.
Oh, you mean...
Samuel.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the same hubris and the same naivete that both those brothers do not listen to it. So it's like
Oh, I see what you're saying, because they won't listen to their father.
They will not listen to the father, and that's what frustrates. It's like being a father. You have two sons who are successful, but they won't listen to reason, and then you got your wild child. It's like there's no for the.
But I think he liked the wild child because he did more of the Native American ways. And he wasn't involved with the government and the United States.
I think, no, he still got frustrated with Tristan. Don't get it wrong. He gets frustrated by some of his actions. But at the end of the day, I feel, this is my interpretation of Colonel Ludlow's character, is that he is not impressed, but is, oh, shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? But he has a sense of... I'm trying to think of the word, but it's the sense of where he respects the freedom of Tristan's mind.
Okay.
To where it's like he's envious. That's the thing of the word. He's envious of the fact that since the colonel is the colonel, and it's 1 + 1 is 2. Tristan will get 1 + 1 is 2, but it's not going to be just that straight line. Tristan's very, snake trail style. But he has a lot of. Whatever for the freedom that Tristan lives his life. It's basically refreshing.
Okay.
It's refreshing. So go ahead.
So Alfred leaves that meeting, goes out to the porch, and he sees Susanna on the porch with Tristan's letter.
Yep, crying.
Yeah, and the colonel rebukes Alfred for stroking her face because he just went to say, just what's wrong, kind of just try to comfort her a little bit.
And then, of course, he goes, how dare you touch your brother's future wife?
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's when Alfred, when he insults, man, he goes for the...
Well, Alfred was telling Tristan really did love her, even though he read the letter.
Right.
He said, but Tristan really loves you. He's trying to comfort her in a way.
Right.
And Alfred reminds the colonel that Tristan abandoned Susanna, the colonel, and Samuel.
Yeah, and he's like, how dare you accuse accusations without him here defending himself. He's like, read your precious Tristan's letter.
Yeah, well, so the colonel yells and says, Samuel chose to be a soldier, and soldiers die.
Yeah, oh, gosh,
and he says,
the way he said it.
They die,
Soldiers
sent to his death by men in government, parasites like you, meaning...
Yeah, he basically says, you know what, you brought up Samuel, I'm going to bring you up.
Yeah.
And then if you want to, first of all, you insult my favorite, because you guys talked, just from my mindset of the colonel, you wanted to go fight with Samuel. Samuel's dead because of this BS. I've been telling you guys for years and years and years, do not trust the government because this is what they do. This is what I did. And then, of course, you insulted his favorite, and then who basically the colonel knows he's going through some stuff, and Alfred should understand he's going through some stuff, but there's that jealousy part still that plays into effect. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the colonel tells Alfred to get out of my house and off my land.
Yes.
Okay. So Alfred responds, why? Because I am to serve my country, or because, like you, I love a woman who doesn't love me?
Oh!
He used her and he deserted her. I loved her. I love her still. He stole her from me. He stole her from Samuel before the war.
Yeah, that's when.
And then
Colonel
Alfred
goes
throws
off.
the letter at the colonel.
Right.
And then late that night, the colonel had a stroke.
Yeah, I think that the stroke was built on just the stress and the loss of basically all three boys. Yeah.
And he says Tristan stopped writing for years. That's what the one stab is saying. Okay, so they would hear of someone seeing him going up a river where no white man had ever gone. Strange stories would come to them, and then nothing for years. Okay, he was lost to them. So One Stab dreamed every year in the moon of the falling leaves. The bear's voice inside him had grown silent, and that Tristan might then come to live in the world again. But then another winter would come, and then another spring, and still he stayed away.
He's got a great storytelling voice.
I just love it.
Yes.
So One Stab was out working in the yard, heard horses running.
Yeah.
Okay, and Tristan had returned.
He returned a wealthy man.
Yeah. He wasn't. He returned. Riding in a beautiful brown and white horses.
Yes, then basically, because we have to kind of rewind this a little bit. You see that since the colonel had a stroke and he's narrating the story about Tristan and all that, the dilapidation of the farm.
Okay, well we're getting to that in a second, right? He says he finds his father, how's father, and he sees that he's a stroke victim and he's upset, but they hug. But he has a chalkboard, the colonel.
That he can write, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He says, I'm happy, and they hug. And then Tristan brings gifts. He brings an engraved rifle for the colonel, bear tusks from Japan for One Stab.
Yes.
Other things for Tom and Pet. And he asks about Susanna.
Yeah, and then that's where he finds out that Alfred married Susanna some time ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. Okay,
yeah.
And Alfred's a congressman and has a big house in town.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, of course, don't forget the most important part, the gift for Isabel, too.
Well, wait a second.
Oh,
We're
sorry.
not even there yet.
Okay. I jumped literally
So
1 second.
Tristan replies as it should be, because he knows what he wrote.
Yes.
He shouldn't expect her to still be there.
Yeah, because his
waiting.
attitude was like, oh, well, good for him. Like, he was...
Yeah,
like,
he was calm about it.
Yeah, honestly, at that point, I think... Alfred is still his brother, and he still loves his brother, but he's going to love him over there. I feel.
Of course. Okay. Let's see here. Oh. Sorry. Okay, I got to get all my notes. I have a lot of notes, don't I, Carl?
Too much for me.
Okay. So he told the colonel Oh, no. The colonel told Tristan, well, I guess
Screw the government.
Decker told him,
Yes.
that when the cattle prices dropped after the war, Tristan, he lost everything.
Right.
Okay. So Tristan said he would make the money back in a different way.
Yes.
Okay. And so at this time, there was what they call the Volstead Act, which is prohibition.
Yes.
Which is no alcohol.
That's correct. And they're on where? The Canadian border.
Okay.
That's where they are.
So basically, they are going to do some bootlegging.
Yes, sir.
And
the colonel loves
is
it.
fine because he doesn't like the government.
Screw the government.
Yeah.
Screw 'em.
And he says that because he's got a stroke.
Yeah,
and he
it's the
can't
way he
talk
says it.
very well.
It's very. And then of course, he does the middle finger gesture.
Okay. So Tristan goes to Helena by Alfred and Susanna's house. And he sees her in the garden in a white flowing dress. She gives the magic brace. Oh, wait. So she's like an angel again, okay?
Stop.
Wait, no, there's other things.
No,
there is.
You know,
I have this blow by blow. I know what you're talking about with Isabel, too. Is that what you're trying to go for?
Continue.
I just did the scene by scene, so it's coming. So she has that big flowing dress.
Yes, beautiful dress.
Yeah, and she just looks like an angel, like she
Yeah,
always
because
does.
they have that glow behind
and
her.
her hair is,
Flowing, yes.
And she gives so she's there. They talk and say hello. She gives this bracelet back that she had gotten from one of the packages, I believe, that he sent. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, that was a magic bracelet. Okay. And so Tristan says it's better he doesn't see Alfred, but to tell him hello and congratulations.
Yes.
Now, she's got the teary eyes and all that, right?
Oh, no, she fell back in love with him because now he's back to
normal, good.
Beautiful Tristan.
So Tristan visits Samuel's grave. He rides to overlook the ranch, and as he's putting his horse back in the barn, Isabel, too, comes out of a stall, all grown up.
I'll say Isabel, too, ain't 13 no more.
And he gives her a ring from Crete that is too small for her finger.
Right.
Okay, and what does he say? What does she say? Do you remember?
You still, you still think of me as a little girl or something like that?
Yeah, something, a little ring for a little girl.
Girl, that's it. Little
something
ring for a
like
little girl, yes.
And of course, she's gorgeous herself.
Oh,
right?
of course. She's fine.
Yeah.
She's hot.
So Tristan,
Susanna who?
Yeah. So Tristan is running bootleg alcohol.
Yeah,
because it's during the Prohibition. This is the only way they can make money at this point.
At this point, yes. But do you see the repairs are being made on the?
Yes.
Like things are going well again, and you notice the colonel is a little
more spry.
More spry.
He's cheering.
Some life is going back into the colonel. Yes.
So Tristan became calm. The bear was sleeping inside of him.
Yes.
Okay. Now, flashback now to Susanna, and she's in her own bedroom.
Yeah, she's at the
big house.
Yeah,
there.
she's
brushing her hair.
Yeah, she's brushing her hair.
And Alfred tells her, "Hey, guess what? I heard Tristan's back."
And Alfred's excited.
Yeah,
he's so happy. Yes.
And he says he's marrying Isabel too.
Yeah, and then that's where you see.
And Susanna didn't know that, and she holds back the tears. See, she knew Tristan was back. She goes, "Oh, I heard Tristan was back," and then. So Alfred assumes that she knew that he was going to marry.
Oh yeah, because he's like, yeah, it's just crazy though. He's, don't you think it's crazy that he's like something
that
like
Tom Decker would allow his
a daughter to marry Tristan?
And then she says, "What? He just wants his daughter to be happy."
Yeah, but he just wants his daughter to be happy. Yeah.
And he says, "Well, how could she ever be happy with Tristan?"
Yeah,
you should of all people. Should know.
Yeah, of course, and that's something he should have never said. Alfred says some stuff that I'm just like, dude, shut up. Your hubris, sir, is not appreciated.
So June 2nd, 1921, Colonel's wife comes back to Montana, and her name is Isabel.
Yeah, and for the wedding,
yes,
right?
Yes, for Tristan and Isabel's
wedding.
Isabel II's wedding. And she gives Isabel her own wedding gown.
Yes.
And they marry in the gazebo out in the ranch.
Yes.
But Alfred and Susanna are not there.
Ooh.
Now, it shows fast forward, they had a baby boy.
Yes.
And they named him Samuel.
Yes.
Samuel Adecker Ludlow.
Yes.
And Alfred and Susanna are not able to have a child.
That is correct. Susanna cannot have a child.
Okay. So Isabel, too, is pregnant again in a few years, it looks like.
Yes, she is pregnant with Samuel. I think looks like he's like 4.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
And they're on a horse. A lot of horses. So Tristan and Alfred are estranged still, and it looks like it's been about 5 years.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah. So Tristan has a run-in with the O'Banions, who are also running bootleg liquor.
And the O'Banions are the guys who were with the sheriff looking for Mr. Decker in the first place in the few scenes back.
And they're in the town, and they tell him to stop, and he just says, you know, and they say the only reason why you're not, you know, beat up now is...
And the reason why you're not in a gutter is because of who your brother is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, okay. He doesn't really argue with them. They
Right.
just got in and left.
Yeah.
So it appears later down the, you know, down the road, there's a celebration, like a county celebration festival, and Alfred and Tristan meet in the street.
Yes.
And so Alfred is with Susanna.
Yes.
And
because he had to do a speech or something.
Yeah. And Tristan and Isabel, too, are there with their 2 kids.
Yes, Samuel and I forgot the daughter's
name.
name.
They didn't really say.
They didn't say the daughter's name, no.
They have a nice exchange.
Right.
As family, and you know, she talks to little Samuel, and you know, it was nice and sweet. And then Susanna is crying as they leave.
Yeah, because in her mind that's supposed to be her son. Yeah.
Exactly. So now O'Banion sees Tristan delivering bootleg to a shop later on that day, and he gets some men, and they're lawmen too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they stop him on the way back to the ranch. Okay, so he has in the car 1 stab, Isabel 2, Pet, which is the mom of Isabel 2, and they also have the kids.
Yes.
And they're on the road back to the ranch.
Yes.
And one of the lawmen starts shooting a machine gun above his head.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they're in a
like a
somewhat
canyon,
ravine.
a ravine type
they're
thing.
up in a ravine, and the bullets are ricocheting. Yes.
And says they're transporting liquor against the Volstead Act, and Tristan says it's for his father, who would be disappointed of not receiving it. But then Pet starts screaming. Isabel, too, has been shot in the chest and is dead.
Yes.
And the children are in their car, too.
Yes.
And so, I mean, this is the
it's a
the
gut-wrenching
other reason that I don't like watching
it's
this
a
movie.
It's a gut-wrenching scene, yes.
So Tristan attacks the man who shot the gun.
Just the man
Yes.
who shot the gun.
And basically almost kills him by beating him up.
Yes.
The O'Banions have the other lawmen hold Tristan down, and they steal the money, and they whack him over his head with a bat.
Yes.
They leave, and they take the wounded man with them.
Yeah.
But Tristan crawls up and takes Isabel 2 out to the woods.
Yes.
And then they leave. So, I mean, they don't really show what went on.
But you know how Tristan is.
Yeah,
you know
so
what
it
happened.
was really terrible.
Yes.
It was the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, these scenes are the worst.
But
I mean,
first
the worst,
of all, it strikes a chord with you emotionally, like it does probably with everyone who watches this movie. Because that acting is the best.
So the next scene is the burial of Isabel 2 in the same spot where
Samuel's
buried.
Yes.
Okay. Alfred's waiting for them at the house when they get back. The colonel refuses to see him. He blames the government for Isabel's death.
And he's correct.
Mm-hmm. Alfred says Tristan has to plead guilty of the beating of the lawman, serve 30 days.
And what's his reply?
The officer, he says, what about, the officer? He said the officer got off with a reprimand who killed his wife, all right? And the O'Banions, nothing. Nothing happened to them. So Alfred says to let it go. So Tristan goes into his room to say goodbye to Isabel 2's presence, basically, and he goes to the jail. Now, so he's in the jail, and we're thinking, okay, So Susanna visits Tristan in jail. He and she both
chases
cry.
him down.
Always.
Yes.
She's always chasing him.
She's always chasing him.
She needs to leave him alone. They both cry, and they hug and kiss. She says she dreams she's the mother of his children. She wanted Isabel too to die and possibly Samuel to die. She's blaming herself for willing their deaths. But Tristan assures her it is not her fault that they did and tells her to go home to Alfred.
Kudos to Tristan on that.
Yeah, I mean, good grief. So she does go home. Alfred meets her there and questions her where she was, and she missed a doctor's appointment, but she said she's tired and she goes to bed. So she's already on a mental break.
Yeah, and Alfred is now aware you went to go see Tristan.
So Tristan sees the O'Banion, one of the O'Banions on the street from the jail, okay? And then they show Susanna, who is in an emotional agony. Now, Tristan is released from jail and goes back to the ranch. He and Tom are preparing their revenge against the O'Banions.
Yes, sir.
So Alfred's throwing a party with the O'Banion liquor.
Yes.
Tristan is following
the liquor that was taken from probably from that heist. Mm-hmm.
So Tristan is following the trucks on the top of roofs in town, the liquor trucks.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he's on the roof following them.
Gotta get that liquor back.
And One Stab is preparing little Samuel in war paint.
Yes.
Tom is posted up on a ridge to shoot a car coming down the road. These are all scenes like click, click,
yes.
click, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like The Godfather when they're setting up their revenge.
Yes.
Very much like that. 16. Where's 17? Sorry, I got my numbers. So Tom shoots a tire out of the car on the road.
Yes.
Okay? It is the officer who killed Isabel too, who is Tom's daughter, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and now the next clip is the John O'Banion hears something in his warehouse and goes in to check it out.
Right.
Okay? Then they have another clip. Susanna's acting strange and worried at the party.
Yes.
Another clip. Tom shoots the officer.
Yep. So
another
there's one
clip.
done. Yep.
One Stab is chanting a war song.
Yep.
Another clip. Tristan pushes liquor bottles on top of John O'Banion. Another clip. Little Samuel is with One Stab as he's chanting. Another clip. Susanna's now in her room, hair down, staring into the mirror. Another clip. The officer is struggling to get up after being shot. Another clip. Tristan jumps down to O'Banion, who is on the floor, and shoves him. Another clip. Susanna stares into the mirror. Another clip. Tristan takes a knife. Another clip. Tom shoots the officer one more time. He dies. Another clip. One Stab chanting with little Samuel. Another clip. Tristan screams out at O'Banion. Another clip. Susanna starts cutting her hair. A next clip. O'Banion starts fighting Tristan, grabs an axe, swings and misses. Tristan impales him on a pitchfork when he shoves him into the wall.
Yes.
He dies. Another clip. Susanna picks up a small pistol and shoots herself.
Yep.
So we've got the officer being killed by Tom.
Revenge confirmed.
Tom
got his revenge on the death of his daughter.
Yeah, and Tristan gets revenge on John O'Banion.
Who ordered the... Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Susanna
just kills herself.
She kills herself. Yep.
So Tristan is packing up at the ranch to leave, and One Stab gives him a letter. It's from Alfred, and it says, "You've won her. I'm bringing her home." So the train stops. Coffin is transported by One Stab to the burial site. Same one.
Same one.
After the service, Alfred and Tristan have a talk.
Yes.
And this is the quoting, okay? I followed all the rules. This is Alfred talking.
Right.
I followed all the rules, man's and God's, and you followed none of them. And they all loved you more. Samuel, father, even my own wife. Okay, and then he asked to be alone. So days later, speaking with the colonel, Tristan feels when he damned God after Samuel's death, he damned everyone. The colonel says no, he isn't damned. So as Tristan leaves the house, the other O'Banion brother, I think his name's James, has officers with him and is talking to little Samuel, showing him a handgun.
Beautiful.
Okay. And Tristan gets the woman and children out of the way into the house.
Right.
Okay. And also the sheriff's with him.
Of course.
So O'Banion says, they're not there to arrest him. They're there to kill him, basically. Colonel comes out of the house all, stroke victim, limping.
Yeah.
And he says, what's going on here? And he says, what do you think's going on here? All that. And then you see this horse that One Stab has is kind of jumping up and down as a distraction.
Yeah.
And the colonel whips out
that rifle that Tristan bought him. Yep.
And he shoots O'Banion. He shoots an officer, and just like it looks like the sheriff's going to shoot the colonel, and Tristan runs in front of him to shield his father, right? He gets shot by Alfred. So the sheriff, Alfred, it comes around the back of the house and shoots the sheriff.
Yes.
Right before he shoots his dad.
The colonel,
right?
yeah.
Colonel and Tristan realize what happened, and Alfred and Tristan nod knowingly. The colonel says, hey, hugs Alfred emotionally and cries and laughs. So they kind of like have this moment, right?
Yeah, they have a father-son moment of forgiveness.
So Alfred says they'll be coming after Tristan for these deaths of O'Banion, the sheriff, and the officer.
Oh, yeah.
So Tristan just asks Alfred to watch over his children, and Alfred said it would be an honor. And One Stab is chanting and pretending to take scalps, but it was not his kill.
Yeah.
Okay. So they buried the bodies and dumped the car into the upper Missouri River. One Stab thought Tristan would never live to be an old man, but he was wrong.
Right.
Those who loved him most died young. He was a rock they broke themselves against.
Right.
He was able to see his children grow up and have children of their own. Tristan was. He died in 1963. He was last seen in the North Country when the hunting was still good. His grave is unmarked, doesn't matter, always lived between the world and the other. And the last scene is the bear death scene.
The same bear.
It was a good death.
Yep.
So.
What a movie.
Yeah,
what a movie. I mean, honestly, just like not even like the way your breakdown is, you don't need to watch it.
Well, I know, but it's good to watch it.
No, it's just just like I'm picturing the perfect or the good death,
Right.
And it's just like, and honestly, like it says, it's one of those things to where Alfred, when he said that thing at the gravesite, it's totally true. It's like, I did everything I was supposed to do, everything, and I get screwed in the end.
Yeah, my heart broke for
at the end,
Alfred
at the
all
end,
the time. Even though he did have his shots, he didn't really.
But no, yeah, he always meant well. He always meant well, and it was for the greater good. It was always for the greater good. And he was damned for it by his father and by his brothers. So I think a lot, because the thing is here with this movie specifically, you can relate to a character very easily.
Yes.
Either you're Alfred or you're Tristan, and I see myself both Alfred and Tristan.
Right.
And it's one of those things where, like, no, that character Tristan is like my soul. It's seriously, because it's just that rage inside. You see the frustration that, but you also can see yourself in Alfred very easily as well. So it's one of the things where I relate to this movie extremely well too. I love this movie. It is in my top 5.
Yes.
Where people will just go, "What?" I'm like, "No, dude, no."
There's a lot to learn from it.
Tons of stuff, and it's
about relationships and about.
You learn something new every time you watch the movie, and you catch stuff that you're like, "Oh, I didn't even see that." That was the kind of movie where I watched multiple times over, because I always found it's like Usual Suspects.
We got to talk about that one.
Yeah,
of these
that's
days.
another one too. Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like that movie just gets better with age, because it's a timeless movie, because it's a period piece, but it's not like some like Total Recall like we covered. It's just like
that was.
Oh my gosh, it's like so dated, it's not even funny. But that one is like a timeless piece of.
Correct.
And for it to only win 1 Oscar is a crime.
Well, it's all political stuff, in
I don't
Hollywood.
care. It's a crime. I'm curious on what won the picture of the year that was not The Legends of the Fall.
Well, because we don't have our
no.
phones with us, we can look that up later. And those who get this far into this hour and 15-minute almost podcast can look it up. But, It's a great movie.
It's a beautiful film.
And it did launch, I believe, Brad Pitt into
a different atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because I keep forgetting that actor's name. Alfred, the character,
Aidan Quinn.
Aidan Quinn. He was in the middle of his greatness, so it was like one of those things where this put Brad Pitt on the map.
Oh yeah.
This movie here was like he officially became every woman's heartthrob.
Oh yeah.
Oh, because no, because you take a look at it. I mean, this is where he had the long hair. And
he had those piercing blue eyes.
Yeah, the blue eyes, the perfect teeth, and I ain't gonna lie,
and the way he cried and everything.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, honestly, hey man, more power to him. But no, this movie did launch Brad Pitt's career. I really do feel. Alrighty, folks. Well, we hope you enjoyed the breakdown of mothers on movies and the blushing of my mother thinking of Brad Pitt. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, hope you guys enjoy it. We're looking forward to seeing you next time. And on that note, good night, Holly.
Good night, Carl.